Hello, this is John Robb here with another lockdown interview for Underground Shoes. And this interview is with Freya Beer, an upcoming, well, I suppose you're a band, but also sort of a singer-songwriter in a sense. He's made one fantastic singles and is out on tour around the UK, or was out on tour in the UK till the virus came. So since the virus came, what have you been doing?
Since the virus came, I've been trying to make use of all this time I have now. So I've been like trying to like do a bit more writing, just making more demos. Um, but I mean, like you can't really do that every day because it's not the same like being stuck in your house every day. but yeah, I usually find something creative to do.
So do you have a setup at home to write with, or is it just you and acoustic guitar and on your phone, or?
Usually, well, because I work with Logic to record my demos, so I've been working with like just drums and then writing to drums. I find that's been a lot easier than like finding some chords, because I don't know, I feel like I get overwhelmed by all the chords. But usually I find like a beat, then I can build upon that. But yeah, so that's usually my setup at the moment. Yeah.
Has it changed the way you write at all? You're writing different kinds of songs? Are they more introspective or maybe the total opposite?
I guess my lyrics have become more interesting, more sort of, there's a lot more imagery in the lyrics rather than my old stuff. But I think that's just down to like what I've been reading recently, just like sort of doing my own research into different poets and just books and general fiction.
So,
But
so,
yeah,
what, so I guess that leads us into what this is. This is about, what kind of culture is getting you through the lockdown. So you say you've been doing a lot of reading. So I mean, what poets have you been reading?
so I've been looking at Sylvia Plath. She was probably one of the first poets I discovered when, yeah, I was about 16 when I started reading into poetry, and I came across Ariel, her collective poem book. And I usually find that if I'm in a situation when I'm writing and I can't seem to find words, or I feel overwhelmed by all the words, I usually find her poems, read through them, and I find that they help stimulate my own writing and lyrics, gives me that creative direction.
I mean, what is it? The imagery, or just the words she uses, or what the poems are about, or what places they go to?
Well, her words in her poetry have a lot of imagery, and that usually is what helps me build my own story.
Mm.
um, but yeah, it's usually just down to her words. Like my last single, Dear Sweet Rosie, I read her poem Lady Lazarus, and it's like the last verse of the poem, like out of the ash I rise with my red hair and I eat men like air. And that created my chorus. Like I adapted it into my own writing, but it helped give my songwriting that same level of imagery rather than just sort of blunt words. If that
Mm-hmm.
makes sense.
Yeah, completely. Yeah. And what other poets you've been reading? You've been exploring different poets that you wouldn't have had time to read before.
Sorry.
Are you listening? Are you reading different poets that you maybe didn't have the time to do before because you're on tour and working with your music?
Yeah, so I started reading Charles Bukowski, and I've become a big fan of his work because his words are just so like, just say it as it is, really. And there's one poem called So You Want to Be a Writer, which like really sort of moved me, because it's like, if basically saying like, if you're expecting this and this to happen, like just don't bother, because it's nothing, it's the complete opposite. But yeah, so even like his fictional books like Post Office, it's quite like humorous in a way.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's helping me get through.
He's like
Get
the
somewhere.
opposite end of the spectrum in Sylvia Plath. So, what about people in between the two?
Probably like Ginsberg, Allen Ginsberg, even though I've been reading his work for a while now, like again, he uses that same, like some of his poems are a bit sort of humorous in a way, like depending on how you take the words, but it has that same imagery as Sylvia Plath, and I think that's sort of like the middle ground between Bukowski and flat for me anyway.
Yeah, no, I could completely see what you mean there. Yeah. I mean, his imagery is incredible. Like, and Howl, every line's got amazing imagery on it. Yeah. So would you consider yourself more of a poet than a musician, maybe?
To be honest, like as the more and more I release like new songs or write new songs, I find that my writing is sort of like at the top. Like I would say I'm more of a songwriter rather than like a guitarist. Like I love playing the guitar, but writing to me is my main priority because I take so much time in my lyrics. Like I said, I don't really like blunt lyrics, and you can kind of like tell like in a song if it's just sort of just thrown about words. So yeah, I like to write sort of like quality to me lyrics.
So do you start? Yeah. Do you start the lyrics, or do you start with the guitar, or do you like now you're starting the drums, aren't you? So it's going more stark.
I just keep mixing up for myself. But yeah, I usually collect words on my phone, my notes. I have like loads of like random words that I just collect during the day. And then when it comes to the time where I want to write a song or even a poem, like I just look back, and that usually helps me build something together. Yeah, I would definitely like I said before, like drums at the moment have like helped me hugely to produce like the instrumentation side of it, like the main sort of bass. But definitely lyrics at the top.
So the drums suggest the rhythm, for the guitars to create the melody, to spark the imagination, to have the words. Is it that kind of process?
Yeah. Well, I think most of my new stuff is mainly drum based because like even playing live, I use a reverb pedal, so you can't really hear like the exact chords, like the precision, but like it's kind of like sound in the background. But I feel like my words work. You can hear my words better with the drums, if that makes sense. Like
Yeah.
the drums.
Yeah. Punctuate it, provide a foundation and a rhythm. Yeah. So musically, I mean, yeah, actually, so the music you're writing now, like we talked about this a minute ago, but lyrically, is that changing as well from the time that we're in? You know, is this kind of really odd lockdown period affecting the words that you're writing, or are you still working on the words that you write before this?
Well, it depends. Like when I write, it's sort of different every time. I usually like stick to my usual sort of route, but it's like you said, like 'cause it's this lockdown has like affected all of us hugely, so it's definitely impacted my writing in some way. Like the subjects, definitely more sort of. I don't know how to word it. Like, that makes sense.
Introspective, or
Yeah. Like what the word is. But yeah, the lockdown has definitely affected my subjects of writing. Yeah.
yeah. I mean, there's all different ways you can go. You can sort of go more into yourself or more away from yourself, and you can go into some imaginary kingdom where there isn't a lockdown, or you just go get totally withdrawn. It's interesting to see how it affects people, very different ways.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So what music have you been listening to? A lot of music as well this period?
Yeah, I listen to a lot of like music that sort of brings back memories of like, you know, outside of the lockdown. Like for example, like I've been listening to Sonic Temple by the Cult a lot because I got to see them last year at the Greek Theatre in LA, and it was just incredible because like other than being in like LA and just that environment, but just seeing them live, and they just sound like amazing. It's just like the memories. It just makes me happy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, Ian Asprey's got an incredible voice, hasn't he?
Definitely. Even his writing and his influences, just really interesting to like read about, like just reading the lyrics, but even like visually in their music videos, you can see that influence, like the indigenous influence. Yeah. But yeah, so.
I interviewed Billy Duffy once, and he said the first time they rehearsed, he put his guitar in the amp really loud, and then he could hear Ian Asprey singing over the top of it, He turned around and Ian Astbury didn't even have a mic plugged in. He said he had the loudest voice he's ever heard. Yeah. Is that your background then? Do you like that? Do you like that kind of music, or is it quite, like most people, quite varied?
Yeah, quite like various styles. I like a lot of like classic country. Like I love Johnny Cash. Like when I started playing guitar, I think it was Ring of Fire, because I think it's like only 2 chords. But yeah, just like classic country legends like Dolly Parton as well, just her songwriting. Yeah, so like I don't sort of just pigeonhole myself into one sort of genre. I love exploring, like even like French music, like Francois Hardy, Serge Gainsbourg, like it's all, I love it all.
So do you find in this period you're sort of going back to like you said a minute ago, like listen to like classics in a way, just music as an escapism, somewhere to get out of being locked in a small flat with a 1-hour walk every day?
Yeah, definitely an escapism. Yeah, even like 60s artists, like I said, bring it back to LA, like the Mamas and Papas, just that sort of dreaminess during these times. It's just what you need, like the sunshine.
Yeah.
But yeah,
music that takes you on a trip, takes you on a journey.
Exactly, yeah.
I mean, is it different every day, or is there certain sort of go-tos that you just, when you need a musical, sort of a cultural crutch in a way, there's certain things you'll listen to because you know they're going to make you feel good?
I would say it's different every day. It just depends on my mood, because like some days, like it's like, say I want to write, and therefore I will listen to like the cult, like Ian Astbury. Whereas other days, like when you don't feel in the mood, I may like listen to more sort of like, I don't think, feel music. Doesn't make sense, but
Yeah.
something like. But yeah.
So you're reading poetry as well, but you say you mentioned books. Are you reading like novels or other books, or is it mainly poetry you're reading?
Mainly poetry at the moment. I like a few months ago I started reading like Edgar Allan Poe, and there was H.P. Lovecraft as well, like more of sort of like horror, kind of like darker stories. But at the moment it is like mainly poetry, because I think that's the main thing that helps me to write songs. So I like to put my energy into reading or like discovering new poets.
It's interesting because the 2 writers you mentioned, they're both very poetic writers, aren't they? I mean, I know they deal in horror, but you can actually read them with having no interest in horror because their use of words is fantastic, isn't it?
Exactly, yeah. That's the type of like writers which I like really like attracted to in writing. Yeah.
So are you watching much TV, or are you binging on box sets like a lot of people are and watching films?
I'm watching a lot of films. Like I find there's not really that much on like telly to watch. Like I've been watching a lot of like documentaries or like music biopics. I love watching those. Like the Love and Mercy, which is about the Beach Boys, Brian Wilson. Like they're making of Pet Sounds. That's a biopic, and I love watching that, because like other than like the visually, like it's just so nice to watch like LA in the 60s, but like create process, and the fact they put always energy, like he knew what he wanted, and I think that's where I can relate, because I'm definitely like a perfectionist when it comes to my own work. Like it's like even with the drums, like because I make up the drums on my Logic, so when I take it to my drummer Owen, like I'm like, could we try and like make it more, like tribally? So yeah, I definitely love watching like music films where I feel inspired afterwards.
Does Owen hate you for that then? You bring in the drums, it's got to go exactly like this. Yeah. Or does he just go, thank God I don't have to think of anything?
Exactly. I'm doing him a yeah, so biopics. documentaries. I've been recently watched Joan Baez's documentary, How Sweet the Sound. That's a really good documentary about her life. But again, like that time in the 60s where there's just so much going on, Martin Luther King, Kennedy, just the political side of everything, just is really interesting, how it reflects in her own music. But also, like, she's a really great guitarist and very inspiring to me as well. Her style. Yeah.
It's interesting you mentioned the 60s in the context of it being a historical, creative, political period, but in a sense, we're living in one of those right now, aren't we? I mean, this is a historical period, and the question is, how do you react to this as an artist? You know, if we're doing this interview in 50 years' time, with the equivalent of you in 50 years' time, what would they be talking about, the artists from this period? What do you hope they'd be talking about, how they reacted to this?
Do you mean like how they would?
Will it be looked on as a golden creative period? You know, everybody got stuck in their rooms and people wrote these amazing triple albums and the music either totally reacted to the claustrophobia of the situation, or like I was saying before, just completely ignored it and went off on this kind of weird imaginative trip to another land. You know, I'm just interested in what I mean, obviously we can't say because we're in the middle of it, but just we can guess how are artists going to react to this. What do you see? What do you think?
I definitely think that they will, because we have so much time. Like, why wouldn't we want to put our energy into doing something creative? Yeah, I forgot the words. Sorry. I can't think. Sorry.
No, it's okay. Yeah. When we get to the post-virus period, whatever that's going to be, what do you hope to see? I mean, there's all different versions of the way the world's going to react to this. We're not going to get back to normal, that's for sure. It's going to be a different place. But do you think it could be a better place or just different?
I think it could be a better place because, like, because we obviously don't know how long this is going to last for, and it just shows how much we took, like, everyday sort of life for granted, like how much we miss it. So I hope that when it's all over, people will have a different perspective. Like, I obviously can't say, but like that's sort of my.
It's a personal question. Yeah, it's what you're hoping. Yeah.
Yeah.
What did you take for granted before? Just the fact you could actually leave the house more than an hour.
Yeah. Well, that's it. Just like, yeah. Well, yeah. Just being able to go to like different places. Just going on the train. But yeah, it's just weird. It just makes you realize how much you miss that.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah.
Yeah, that's cool. That's all the stuff I'm going to need anyway.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah.
Sorry, you keep freezing.
Yeah, I know. It does. It's like Skype. You know, the signal can just get stop and start all the time. It's annoying, isn't it? Yeah. I think a lot of people on the internet, so it's just jamming everything up all the time, isn't it? Yeah. So okay. Well, thanks for your time, Freya. Yeah.
Thank you for choosing to interview me. I really appreciate it.
No, I love your records. I love the music you're doing. I wish I could have got to that gig the other night, but it's just too much going on that day. Now it just seems like a luxury going to a gig, doesn't it? Yeah. Okay, so I'll see you on the other side. Yeah.
Yep. And John.
Okay, bye.